pages 29 and 30 are the charts and graphs showing the 5-year summary of collision and injury collisions, employee accident reports, lost time injuries, and the 5-year summary of contractor injuries through March of 2015. On page 29, the 2014 versus 2015 total customer collision rate is up 8.3%, and the injury collision rate is up 14.5%. On page 30, the 2014 versus 2015 employee lost time injury rate has decreased 13.5%. Please review these reports, and unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, customer environment survey.
Okay. The customer environment survey begins on page 31, and some highlights for the first quarter are B&T striped 124,153 linear feet of roadway in the first quarter 2015 at the Bronx, Whitestone, and Verrazano Narrows bridges. Bridges and tunnels repaired 2,289 potholes in the first quarter of 2015. Bridges and tunnels swept roadways of 1,958 miles of roadway at its bridges and tunnels in the first quarter of 2015. 90% of roadway lights were operational in the first quarter of 2015, nearly identical to the same period in 2014. Easy Pass toll lane availability exceeded the B&T goal of 99.5% at 99.7%. This represents a maintenance performance measure of percentage of Easy Pass lanes available for use by customers. During the first quarter of 2015, Bridges and Tunnels began working on the ability to provide travel time for each level of the Verrazano Narrows Bridge in the eastbound direction from Staten Island Expressway to Brooklyn, allowing customers to make an informed best route decision for which level of the bridge to take. Beginning in April, this information wasn't made available to our customers. That ends the customer environment report.
I will tell you, I did not realize the numbers went so high on travel time. I came over the Throgs Neck one day, and it was 164 minutes to get to the GW Bridge. Luckily, I was not going to the GW Bridge, but it was, I didn't realize the numbers went that high in that regard.
Yep.
Yes, it was my best wishes for the Bruckner, which helps to get to Westchester in that regard. But it was just unbelievable, the backup. But whatever.
Okay, no questions on the customer environment report. We'll move on to the Easy Pass and financial report. Don Spiro.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Easy Pass report begins on page 41. The market share for March was 85.3%, up 0.9% from the previous year. 18,700 Easy Pass accounts were opened in March, about 8,600 of which were on the go, 46% of the total. And as of this morning, we're now up to about 513,000 on-the-go tags sold in the lane since the program began. There's no questions on Easy Pass. I'll move on to the financial report, which begins on page 47. Toll revenue through March was $382.7 million, 1.8% better than planned. Traffic was up about 0.8% against the budget. Preliminary April is also looking good at the moment. Revenue is up preliminarily about 5%. Traffic is also up about 5% against the budget. Year to year also, Pat mentioned that traffic is up about 4%, very preliminary. We'll have final numbers next month, but preliminarily it looks like it's about 4% in April. And this is really the first time that we can recall that we've had an increase in traffic immediately following a toll increase. So it's a combination of things, no doubt, but it's good news. Total expenses for the month of March were just under $100 million, 99.8, 9.9 million, 9% lower than planned. Non-labor costs were about 20% lower than planned, 9.2 million, primarily timing. Labor costs also lower by about 600,000, about 1%, primarily due to vacancies. Overtime slightly higher against the budget through March, only about 250,000, less than 4%. And our support to mass transit was about 224.7 million, 28 million, 14.3% better than planned. And that concludes the financial report.
Question? Moving on.
Okay, we'll move on to our capital program. Joaquin.
Thanks, Jim. The report on the capital program begins on page 62. In April, there were 11 commitments made with a total value of $232.6 million. The most significant commitment made was the construction award for the Queens Midtown Tunnel restoration contract at $230.9 million. Year-to-date, 22 commitments were made with a total value of $256.6 million. This compares to a planned year-to-date of 22 commitments and a value of $279.8 million. To date, we have committed approximately 62% of our annual planned commitments. There were 4 completions made in April with a total value of $11.5 million. The completions include 3 design projects and 1 Sandy restoration construction project. Year-to-date, there have been 6 completions with a total value of $156.5 million. This represents 75% of our annual planned completions of $208.5 million. There was 1 task level closeout made in April, and year-to-date there have been 6 closeouts with a value of $7.7 million. A number of schedule changes to remaining 2015 commitments are shown at the bottom of the page. And unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
We frequently see the term necklace lighting for various crossings. How often do those have to be replaced?
Well, we have recently installed LED lighting on many of our facilities. Pat?
Yeah, generally, the Verrazano was the first one we've done, and I'm happy to say, after 5 or 6 years, I'm not sure for a light bulb, we've been up there since we put the LED on the Verrazano, so it's a...
That's the route you're all...
That's the route,
That's the
and
route.
generally, we're looking for hopefully a 10-year cycle with that.
That's a lot better than the old way.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
We're moving on to procurements. Gavin Masterson.
Good afternoon. Procurement start on page 71. There are no non-competitive procurements or ratifications. There are 3 competitive procurements this month. There is one for a miscellaneous service contract for the rental, cleaning, and repair of uniforms for maintenance personnel in the low bid amount of $529,434. There are 2 public work modifications, one for various additional work items associated with the contract for furnishing a new ramp, performing steel repairs, and various painting of the Verrazano Narrows Bridge, and the other for additional necessary concrete and electrical repairs at the south abutment of the Marine Parkway Bridge. And these negotiated modifications total $3,389,139.59. And these 3 procurement actions total approximately $3,918,000. Unless there are any questions, these procurements are described in detail in the enclosed staff summaries.
Okay, now we'll move on to our diversity report. Our Chief EEO Officer, Sean Moore.
Good afternoon. The diversity report begins on page 79 through 86. B&T onboarded 6 new hires the first quarter. The first quarter represents January through March 31st, 2015. We have 33% women, 50% minorities, and 50% non-minorities. On page 83 is B&T's workforce availability analysis. Overall, with respect to female representation, we are meeting our availability. We've updated to 2015. We're meeting availability in the EEO categories of professional, technician, protective services, administrative support, and service maintenance. With respect to minorities, we are meeting estimated availabilities in EEO categories of official and administrators and protective services. EEO and HR, in collaboration with all our departments, are working to address underrepresentation and some of the challenges that we are facing with respect to civil service testing. The categories that we are highlighting currently are officials and administrators. Females, we have 22%, and we are trying to increase administrative support and service maintenance for Hispanics. For administrative support, we are currently at 13% for Hispanics and 15% for service maintenance. On pages 84, we have our EEO and Title VI complaints. We have a total of 8 EEO complaints, 2 active internal EEO complaints, 6 active external EEO complaints, and we've resolved 1 this quarter. We have no Title VI complaints, and that is the end of the diverse report if there are no further questions.
Okay.
It's our report. Any questions or comments?
Well, I would just like to comment on how efficiently this meeting ran. And when you see the president of Bridges and Tunnels just mentioned to him the name Wally Pipp, if that means anything to him, and I would make a motion to, I would ask for a motion to adjourn. Second? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.